Now it's just a fuzzy blur in the background.
Well, hey, just so you guys know, I started recording just now. So, Ken Mason and Nick Smith. Ken's image is blurry for all those watching because Ken, as most of us, have something over the camera aperture, so the NSA can't watch us. I do on mine. Well, not on this one. This is my podcast laptop, but my other one, I have a penny taped over it because I remember reading that Snowden said that they found a way to look through the tape. So I just did I put a penny over it because I figured, yeah,
like infrared.
I guess so. So I put a penny over it.
I was wondering about if infrared.
Yeah. So I taped a penny over it, thinking that fuck it, it's just copper. They're not gonna look through that. It's Faraday cage, right? So, but yeah. That being said, Ken took the tape off for this episode and dissolved the plastic, and now his lens is all blurry. But that's the least of our worries. So,
if I had some about 2,000 grit sandpaper, I could polish it.
Well, yeah, easier said than done. So, what have you got with? Just gonna start. So, like 2 weeks ago, they started flying the new 6th generation fighter to the surprise of everyone. No leaks, no nothing. Just the successor to the F-22 and the F-35, and that came out of nowhere, which makes me hope. Do you think something's in the works for the Space Force? Do you think something's just going to show up one day? Just some troop transport, some suborbital transport?
I'm having trouble hearing you. Tom, I'm having trouble hearing you. I'm not sure why.
You are. That question was just in general, Nick, if you want to jump on it.
I saw articles about that. They developed this new jet in like a year, which is unprecedented.
Insane.
Insane. Yeah. I didn't read too much into that, but it sounds like I don't know, like maybe they're embracing a new approach to developing these new planes or something, because like that's never happened before. Like it went from the whiteboard or whatever to being reality in 1 year. And I don't know, like maybe that was inspired by SpaceX or something. Maybe they're embracing SpaceX's approach to developing new technology. Yeah. That's because
they got spies. They got really good spies.
Do you think we're finally?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no question in my mind. I've been hearing about spying from China all the time. They're spying and.
Oh yeah, well that's a given. Yeah, Chinese spies.
They're bleeding us dry.
They are. Stealth War by Brigadier General Robert Spalding is a great book on that. The amount of shit that they steal, but because this was so fast, maybe that's the new move to counteract Chinese intelligence. Maybe the new move is you just move faster than You just move faster than the enemy can pin you down, because the Chinese do this over like decades of getting people in high up places. Yeah. Ken?
We got to stop our hemorrhaging of our technology. Mm-hmm. We're too open in that regard. We're too close with our own citizens and too open with the outside world. We got it backwards.
Yeah, right? But maybe that's the move, is because it takes decades to get people into high-level spots to bleed information back to the CCP. Maybe the move is we got a plan, got it on the whiteboard, test it online, new metamaterials, maybe 3D printing, boom, 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 you get it out in 11 months. And it's like, by the time it's out and flying, you have no idea what the fuck's going on. Maybe that's the move.
Good point there. We don't know how well it works, though.
No, we do not.
They may crank it out quick, but maybe it'll crash shortly.
Maybe the move is instead of waiting 20 years, maybe now we start making a new generation fighter jet every 24 months. So by the time they get the new one, it's outdated. Yeah. Maybe we just iPhone that shit. We just start every year the new Christmas fighter jet. Just like electronics.
Yes, it's obsolete by the time it gets out.
Yes, maybe that's the move, because we realize we can't plug all the holes. I don't see Uncle Sam just saying, "Well, I guess we lost to China." I think I see them adapting. I think the government, the higher up, I think that military elite, they adapt, and they say, we beat Hitler, we beat Japan, we beat the Soviets, we found Bin Laden. We're not going to let the CCP win. So what's the new model? No more of this $1 trillion, 20-year fight thing. Fuck that. It's ready and go. You got 11 months. By the time that one's finished, next one's coming out. I think we have to adapt, and I think we're adapting, and I think it's fucking beautiful. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
End of rant.
And that's one thing, like one reason that maybe that China is going to have a hard time keeping up, because they don't really embrace capitalism. They don't really embrace free enterprise.
Yeah.
And I'm making kind of a blanket statement there. I'm
sure.
talking more about their government,
Sure.
But it's I saw this video recently where they just China just announced that they have a private company that's doing self-landing rockets now, and they made some progress because they showed some video of these people flying a rocket to, I don't know, maybe I don't know how high it was, probably less than a mile, but they flew it up there and they landed it again and everything, and the engineers were just like, they had tears of joy in their eyes, like just they obviously put a lot of work into it, but I have to wonder, like, is that really, like, how private of a company is that really? It's probably supported by the government to a large extent, and it seems
nothing's private.
Yeah. I mean, SpaceX isn't completely private either. They get funding from NASA. But
Nick, have you
Well, they were.
Sorry, Ken. Go on.
I was going to say, SpaceX was private until they, started launching payloads for NASA. But you got to give them credit; they did it all in private funding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Space Barons is a fucking fantastic book, all about the rise of SpaceX. But Nick, if you have not read it, and Ken, you as well, Stealth War by Brigadier General Robert Spalding. I had him on this podcast. He's a former B-2 Spirit pilot, episode 160, I think. That book will change your mind on China 100%. It's insane. Everything is stolen. Nothing is private. It's a brilliant, that's what he says. He says you have to respect your enemy. They're playing a brilliant game. But I like to think that we're not just going to roll over and go, well, I guess China wins. No, I think we're going to fucking win. Yeah.
Well, that's all for slave labor there. I mean, it's a closed society. They kill their people. I mean, to get technological advances over that, no way. I'd take our system over theirs in a heartbeat.
Every day of the week.
There's very few people enjoying that technology over there, believe me. They're using it exclusively to attack us. They don't like our open system, but they're taking full advantage of it, believe me.
Yeah.
But at any rate, let's get back to rockets, something that my expertise.
Well,
not just opinions.
Yeah. Because we are speculating wildly. So, Ken, I think you would be pleased to know, and Nick, you as well, not to butt you out of this convo, Nick, but what's today, Friday? So a week from yesterday, so this coming Thursday, October 8th, I'm having on my podcast for 1 hour Rob Manning, the chief engineer of the Mars Curiosity rover. Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be crazy, and I've got my mind right now is all wrapped up in rovers and stuff, but it comes down to also rockets, and I don't want to spoil it, but one of the questions I have to him that he's going to answer in depth is how hard would it be to get a rover to Pluto? And it just made me thinking, got me thinking of the Sea Dragon. You would just need something to just get it out there and just get it cooking.
Yeah. Well, I think the SpaceX's new rocket, a couple of those. Well, we just discovered that it's 5 SpaceX rockets to get one Sea Dragon equivalency. So we could still do it with SpaceX rockets. My guess is that's the way they'll do it, and do in-orbit fueling and assembly of a vehicle that can, go like a bat out of hell and get to the outer solar system in under 5 years instead of 10 years. But we got to have
I guess the challenge,
Pluto.
Yeah.
So
they're gonna.
We got the delay problem going where we both pause. And,
yeah. Mars is the big one. Landing in that Delta River region, that's got my attention to see if there's any fossilized life there. That's going to be the teller. If there's no life there, then there's no life on Mars. That's pretty much the yes or no, up or down question. So I guess is what life they find there came from Earth anyway.
Yeah, that's the hypothesis. That's what I think is probably the most realistic hypothesis. Asteroid impact here, because they have found Mars rocks on Earth, and that's from a massive object colliding with Mars, just blowing the shit out out of its orbital out of the gravity well, and it landing here and surviving re-entry. Which isn't that, I mean, because they're the two nearest gravity wells, so it sounds crazy, but it's really not. If you hit it hard enough and it gets farther than Mars, the only place it's going to end up relatively is here. So it's not that crazy of an idea to think that the inverse happened.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree. No question about it, and I think they know that too.
Yeah,
they got to figure out how to distinguish it. If they could do DNA testing, which they can't with fossils, but they may have ways of telling if life was indigenous to this Earth or not. I don't know. They're going to have to do the sample return to really completely.
Well, that's what
tell.
That's what Manning says at the end of his book, Mars Curiosity Rover, is that the next step is returning a sample, because right now we have to launch the whole laboratory over. Like, what if you could just go get a sample and bring it back, and then you have, you could just scrape off microns at a time, and you could have every lab on Earth going at full capacity, hundreds of thousands of employees, right? It's a game changer. But
bringing Muhammad to the mountain, or the other way around.
Yeah. Do you think that there's really a lot of importance? Because one thing I think of is I don't really think it's that important to find life on Mars. Sure, novel, but to me, I'm looking at it as there's novel information that would be wild, right? That would have a lot of implications if bacteria formed on Mars. What I'm more interested in is can we just scout a landing place and how to create our own fuel for a human settlement? I'll be honest, I don't really care about single cell bacteria on Mars. I just don't care. What do you guys think?
I think it would be a big deal.
Ken first, then Nick.
Yeah.
Well, is this what we want to talk about? Because my expertise is in rockets.
No, let's go to rockets.
Exobiology.
Well, Ken,
more.
Yeah. Ken, you lead the conversation, because I don't know enough about rockets, so I'm going to have you lead the conversation, and Nick and I will chime in.
I have opinions about it.
No, with rockets. Let's get back to rockets. Yeah, let's get back to rockets.
I love exobiology and talking about astronomy. That's a strong interest of mine, but my quote-unquote expertise is in hands-on building rockets efficiently and inexpensively.
Yeah.
Let's just have a nice, pleasant conversation and see where it leads us.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on any of this, so I'm just basically throwing opinions out there. So it's okay, Ken.
Neither am I, Nick. I don't know. At least Ken knows about rockets and has opinions on exobiology. Nick and I only have opinions on rockets and exobiology. We have nothing to bring to the table. So we're all speculating wildly. Don't worry. This isn't a documentary. This is Tommy's podcast. Take it with a grain of salt. It's right.
Yeah, I'll throw my opinion out there on it. I think even if it's single-celled organisms on Mars or Venus or whatever, it would be a very big deal, because if we can prove that life exists on two planets in this solar system, then there's a very good probability that life is abundant in the universe. And you could look up at the night sky and say, out of all those stars, there's a good chance that a lot of them have some kind of life.
Yeah.
And that would be a very big deal.
Yeah.
So I understand what you say about single cell life. It's not that exciting or whatever. Yeah. It's I can understand. It's just and I felt the same way for a long time too. It just it's if we can find it in two places in the solar system, that's a big indication that it's not rare in the universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I agree with that, but there's also I've heard it's said that our solar system is in an extremely unique place in the galaxy, a very low radiation area, and it could be life in the solar system might be common, but not in the galaxy. That's that train of thought too.
Yeah, because aren't we bobbing up and down in the plane of the Milky Way? Like, we're not in the thick of it all the time. Like, over millions of years, we bob up and down on the thick plane of it. So it might be, so we might just be in a period of life right now. We might get cooked every 300 million years where it just comes through and it puts us in a, like Commander Fravor says, aviation is a self-cleaning oven. We might we might be in a self-cleaning oven, man. It might be, how come we can't find any other life? And it's like, it was there, but it got cooked. And you guys are on your way.
Well, did you read just last week where they did an extensive SETI search of the sky? I mean, the most extensive search in our history, and it came up a big fat zero, not a peep from ET. Now that's telling. Every radio dish in the world cannot find even one scintilla, except for the wow signal, which is still a mystery. There's nothing. Did you hear that story about a week ago?
I didn't, but
I read it. It was on Reddit or some. I get so much stuff, I forget where it's at. But it was a new article just a week ago. Nothing.
I think the explanation I've always kind of thought is most realistic, and maybe this is just a projection of my own human Homo sapien mind of like hunter-gatherer versus predator-prey, is if you're alone in the jungle at night, are you gonna just start calling out for other people? Because that's also gonna bring tigers and snakes and whatever. If you're out in the middle, you're just out in space, maybe it's not the most advantageous or survival tactic to start saying, I'm here, right? It might be lay low.
Well, we're not doing that. This is a passive search. We're not sending anything out. We're receiving.
Well, we haven't
received any signals.
Well, what I mean is other society or other civilizations might have adapted to say lay low.
We're just talking about noise, us. We got tons of noise going out and radiating out in space every second. That's the kind of stuff we would be looking for.
Sure. But a sufficiently advanced enough civilization might cease all, or put some sort of planetary Faraday cage around them, and if they're sufficiently advanced, somehow undo the shit they've already sent out. I'm just looking at it from like...
We haven't done that.
No, we have not, no. But that's what I'm saying. They might.
If they have, we think we would receive some signals before they reach the Faraday cage stage.
Sure. Or we have, and it's being kept under wraps. And that's the tinfoil hat. I know you don't want to go down conspiracies, Ken, but...
there's HARP, and that's a big black hole in itself.
Yes.
But back to rockets, are we going to talk about propulsion, and what were we going to talk about today?
Really, whatever we want. That's how I do the podcast. I just show up and try to have a good time. I don't want you to feel. I don't want you to feel bottlenecked, Ken. We don't have to talk about rockets.
Oh well, that's what I have hands-on experience with. That I can talk with, some sort of authority. Not authoritarian, but I can say things because I know I've been there, done that. But it comes to the exo stuff, it's your guess is as good as mine. We're all just throwing out our ideas, and there's ideas are not worth very much. I mean, opinions aren't worth very much because there's like 7 billion opinions on the planet.
But sometimes those are the most fun episodes where you just sit back and speculate wildly, and you just happen to be recording. But we can tie it back around. So I've brought this up the last couple episodes, and we've talked about it before with you, Ken, and I know your stance on the psychological impact of it. But let's void that. Could we get a human mission to Mars? Could we launch before 2030? Could we do it with our rocket technology now? Not the psychological impact, not the are they going to come back, none of that. Let's just break it down into quite literally rocket science. Could we put, I don't know, 4 or 5 people and a year of supplies on the surface of Mars?
Well, of course, that's never been the question. We have the technology, but do we have the physiology? Can we get someone there and they'll be alive when they get there? Or will they be functional? Will they not be dead from radiation or have cancer, or their bone loss will be such that they can't come back because they can't recover from the effects of zero G and low G. These are questions I brought up before.
Yeah.
I don't see NASA doing any artificial gravity experiments with the space station. Nobody, not even the Russians, are doing any artificial gravity research. I don't understand that. They think it's not a problem. I've seen concepts on the drawing board, but no one's actually doing it in low Earth orbit. Does anyone know anything about that? I haven't seen anything.
Nick?
I guess the impression I got was that it's just a big engineering challenge, I mean, all you got to do is spin the spacecraft, but I guess that presents some risks. That's the impression I've had of it. It's just the
Coriolis effect is a killer unless you spin very large radii.
Yeah.
Musk did show 2 of his rockets with a tether or a truss, and then they get the radii with the Coriolis effect isn't a killer. But these still are only concepts on the drawing board. We haven't done any in-orbit testing with people in them, or even mice or anything. I don't know. People just shrug it off like, well, it's not a problem. Well, maybe it is. Maybe they know more than I do about the topic. But I don't know. The devil's in the details. And once you're on the way to Mars, 8 months, and then you get there, if you get there alive. To answer your question would be, yeah, we can send whatever we want there, but can it get there alive if it is alive when it leaves?
Okay.
I have my doubts.
Okay. I was on my phone. I pulled up questions from the original podcast we did back in January, episode 11, and found some of the questions. So here's one of them, Ken. This is specifically on the Sea Dragon. What would the rocket bell have been made of to not explode or to burn up? Like, what could we have used? Because it's one big dumb booster. What would the bell have been made of?
Like any other rocket, big doesn't mean it's going to be heated more. That means nothing. Per unit area, it's no different than a small rocket. It's, in fact, the bigger they get, the easier they are to cool. I think we touched on that. Bigger engines are much easier to cool than little engines. That's a fact.
Okay.
F1 had so much ability to cool. They had to bypass the cooling jacket. About a third of the fuel flow went directly to the injector because they had too much coolant. And it just exacerbates as it gets bigger. And Sea Dragon would probably bypass half of its coolant, maybe 3/4 of the coolant, because the chamber. It's a cube root law, and the volume of the chamber goes up, but the area goes down, and it's cooling will be a breeze. We talked about stability. That's more of a realistic problem,
okay.
But we talked about how that would be solved with gas injection, pre-combustion chamber work, the stuff that we did with Truex back in the late 80s, early 90s. We fired full stage LOX pre-burner engines, the stuff that Raptor is based on. That's all stuff that leads to stable combustion. So there's nothing technologically daunting about Sea Dragon engine.
Okay.
That's not an issue that I see.
Could it have been? Sorry, Nick, go on.
Oh, I was about to jump back into the whole Mars mission thing, if that's okay.
Sure.
Actually, I was curious about this. I had a question ready about this because I've read that in theory, at least, we could get to Mars in about 100 days with a nuclear thermal engine. Do you think that, if assuming that's true, that we can get to Mars in 100 days with a nuclear thermal engine, that maybe it would make things more feasible? Because I guess that would be a little over 3 months of radiation exposure in space. And then once we get there, maybe we can do what Tom mentioned last time, which is tunneling underground on Mars to protect the astronauts from the radiation. And I guess, nuclear thermal is something that we've already figured out. We've never flown an engine like that, but I've read that we can get to Mars in about 100 days. I don't know if that's true. That's, maybe best case scenario, but that's what I've read at least.
Ken?
Yes, the short answer, absolutely. I'm all for it, but we don't have any flying thermonuclear rockets. We built them in the 60s, NERVA. Great. We got a lot of nuclear material, a lot of fissile material here on Earth. We can turn our swords into plowshares. I'm all for that, but we're still talking 100 days. That's a lot better than 8 months.
Sure.
And we got to redevelop it. It's like people say, can we build another Saturn V? Well, there's a good video on YouTube that showed that actually we probably can't, not practically speaking. So can we build another NERVA? Well, maybe it's the same thing as an F1 or a Saturn. All those people are gone or effectively gone that built that. We have to kind of dig up all the old drawings, the materials. Some of it's hands-on, hammering a piece of metal to make it fit. There's not even a drawing for it. It's not as simple as it sounds. We got to redevelop all that technology. But yes, let's do thermal nuclear, and then we can get there in half the time.
Yeah.
It's got twice the specific impulse. Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I try to look at that optimistically because I've seen videos, explaining why we can't build the F1 engines again, why we can't. But my logic is sure that's kind of a kick in the balls, right? We don't have the plans. The people are all dead. But those original people didn't have plans and they managed to do it. So why can't we kind of roll up our sleeves and do it? That's how I look at it, is like, let's just grab it by the horns and go at it. If we could do it with 60s technology, we can do it now, even if it's starting from scratch.
I didn't say we can't do it. It's just going to take a long time, longer than we might think. And just because we did it before doesn't mean it's just a matter of dusting it off and making it work. It's going to take as much of an effort.
Sure.
And you need the psychological drive. We had the whole country. Everybody was backing it.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people against the nuclear part. I understand it. I have concerns too about radiation and disposal of nuclear waste. I am concerned about that. Though there are ideas of transmuting elements. There may be ways of making the radioactive elements less radioactive. We need to look at those technologies and have parallel technologies to work on these problems.
Okay. So, hold on, Nick.
Oh, you can go ahead. I have other questions, but you can go ahead if you've got something on your mind.
No, I'm trying to pull up more questions. Nick, Ken, so you've seen the video from For All Mankind, right? The animation. And I think we went into that last time about how it's not entirely correct, that it's way too far submerged.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's if you go to neverworld.net, it shows a sea dragon and how it sits in the water. And it's below the 4 nozzles of the vernier engines on the second stage. So the ballast is what allows a rocket to float at the correct depth in the ocean. Mm-hmm. And that video, if you scroll down to the bottom, it has all the Sea Dragon information, and you can see the way it was designed to be configured.
Mm-hmm. Aside from
Neverworld.net,
I'll put it in.
It's all there.
Now, aside from that I guess improper illustration of it on For All Mankind, aside from that, it being too far submerged, other than that, was it accurate? Just the general, I don't know, monstrosity, the size, just the power of it, that general, I don't know, goosebump feeling?
Oh, yeah, I think Bob would be beyond flattered. I wish he was here for multiple reasons. Passed away 10 years ago. It seems longer than that. But, yeah, he would be really flattered to have seen that. And to have seen what SpaceX had done, all of it, he would have been awed and would have loved to have gotten involved. And he also would have been sad because he tried to do what Musk did. He could have made the president of Apple Computer an Elon Musk. He was ready to make the world's first private astronaut back in the 1970s with his Project Private Enterprise, but no one would put forth a simple $1 million to do it. That's all it would have cost. But as he used to say, people are willing to risk their life, but not their money. There were people lining up to get in the rocket to be the first astronaut, but no one would risk their money. And I say no one. There were a few people put in some tokens amounts of money to get us some static firings, but no one fully funded the project. And it was frustrating for Bob, and working really closely with him, I felt his frustration. It was sad to see this brilliant man stymied over and over again and getting so close and then having the rug pulled out from him. He could have done it. And that's the sad side of the whole equation. But he would have really loved to see that video. That would have tickled him. Royally.
Yeah. It's a tragic thing that a mind like that is limited by, I guess, the technology of his time. Isn't it? It's something tragic.
But he gave Wozniak and Steve Jobs an opportunity to be there first, and they turned it down. So it's their loss, everyone's loss. And it's sad. And if they see this video or hear about it, then they have to know that they had an opportunity to be there before Musk, before SpaceX, and they turned it down.
They probably know.
And Bob could have done it for him for $1 million.
God damn. Nick, what were you going to say?
I was just going to ask what rocket was that? Because I think I read about that, what Ken was talking about.
Sea Drag?
The Volks rocket. The Volks rocket, Project Private Enterprise. It came under a lot of names, but you'll see the testing we did in the 80s and 90s on neverworld.net. There was a 4-engine cluster of LR-101 Vernier engines. And we had the thing captive fired. It was a flight rocket. We were ready to launch it, very close. At that time, we had Navy funding, and once again, the funding got yanked just about the time we were to see fruition of the project. So Bob had experienced one setback after another. Just when victory was right at hand, it got pulled away for one reason or another. But anyway, the original thing was back in the 1970s, Wozniak and Jobs had a chance to invest $1 million and put the world's first private astronaut into space. Would have done the X Prize back then. But people just lack foresight, and that's unfortunate. But Musk does not. He has what it takes, and he's proven that over and over. And he's going to take us to Mars.
Hell yeah. I get so amped up. I love Musk.
I think as Artemis, I think Artemis is already obsolete. An expendable rocket using gold-plated technology. I'm sorry, Boeing, but it's just a waste of taxpayers' money, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's Musk has shown that we have now moved on. The evolution has taken place. We have come out of the water. The thumbs are opposable now. We no longer need to throw the rocket into the ocean. It's just that's done. That's a fossil now.
Yeah, it's obsolete concept.
Yeah,
the X3 Volks rocket. I haven't read too much about that, but that's what he's talking about. Yeah.
That's it. That was the first one. Then it moved on to private Project Enterprise, but it was still based on the same core vehicle with 4 Vernier rocket engines, 1,000 pounds thrust each for 4,000 pounds. They were gimbaled on one axis, so we had roll, pitch, and yaw control. And that would have sent a man-sized payload to 50 miles or above.
Wow.
Jesus. So, could I think, Ken, I believe we touched on this the first time we spoke, but that was 8 months and one pandemic ago. So, my memory is a little foggy. How much bigger could the Sea Dragon have been scaled up?
There's no physical or no laws of physics that prevent it from getting any bigger. Everything is scalable. The walls of the tanks, there's no real there's a practical limit. How
Sure.
big can you build it? Shipyards, they build big things. That's why Bob proposed to do all the work at shipyards, because they're used to building big things and handling seawater, including steel exposed to seawater. You'd think that would corrode real quick and wouldn't be usable, but the Navy does it all the time. They have ways of dealing with that, and they can mitigate the corrosion issues. So I think Sea Dragon would be a good place to gather our thoughts and see if we do need to go bigger. I don't know. I don't see going much bigger than that when we can't even get. With Musk, he's going to have something 1/5 the size of Sea Dragon, but that still has to fly. And we just have a couple of hops so far. So I believe he'll get there. But I think Sea Dragon's a good place to, gather our thoughts.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I think a rocket the size of Sea Dragon would be intimidating enough for me. That's. I think I read that the flame, like the flame from that would be a mile long.
The plume.
Well, the noise, I read that. That's why another reason they do it in the ocean. The sound level at 10 miles would be 140 decibels, which is enough to render you deaf, if not, questionable. You would survive at 10 miles at 140 decibels. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I did see where Musk was proposing to launch his rocket at sea, not in the ocean, but on the ocean with floating platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been watching things about Sea Dragon and seeing the advantages of doing it out in the away from the mainland.
Yeah.
And noise is a big one, and he's going to be doing up 14 to 17 million pounds of thrust, depending on how many Raptor engines he has on the thing. So that's getting up there. Sea Dragon's 80 million, but 17 million is about 1/5 of the way there.
80 million. Jesus.
Yeah.
In heaven.
Pounds thrust, that is.
Yeah.
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 The vernier engines alone are 60,000 pounds thrust. Those are the steering engines and the final velocity adjustment.
The steering engines.
Which give it roll control. Since they're both first and second stage is single engines, they have to have vernier engines to give it roll control. So the vernier engines on the second stage do roll control for both stage 1 and stage 2. All that's explained in the neverworld.net website.
That's insane. That's like I saw like a pilot for Airbus describing when someone was like, just how big is the A380? And he was like, I think he was comparing it to like a 727 or 737. He was like, our vertical stabilizer is bigger than like the wings of a 737. Like, just really put it into perspective where it's like, oh, it's like your main course is like my snack, right? Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Vernier engines that are 60,000 pounds thrust. That's like what? The Atlas rocket, which has vernier engines, they're 1,000 pounds thrust. And its sustainer engine is 60,000 pounds thrust. That's the second stage engine. So, yeah, the scale is hard to comprehend.
Because I can't comprehend the Saturn V. Like, that's hard for me to wrap. And despite having videos, I can't. It's hard for me to wrap my head around.
That photo of Werner von Braun standing next to the Saturn first stage. That blows me away, and I could see a man there that's seen his dream come alive. And then I think of Bob, how I wish Bob could have been, in the same situation with his hand on a Sea Dragon nozzle and saying, we did it.
Yeah.
But he's a broken man, and I'm very sad for him. Working with him for 35 years, I've seen him through a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
And he had his heart broken many times, and I feel more sadness than happiness for Bob, just from looking from him from the inside.
Sure.
But he's resting in peace now, and I hope his maker is easy on him, forgiving him, and we'll bring him into the fold when we all have to come home.
Absolutely. Beautifully said, Ken. And he gets front row tickets to watch SpaceX launches. Right? Yeah. You get to watch it from the sky, right? So someone brought this up, and I realized that I never actually thought of it. What was the intended payload, or was that not a worry? Was it just we were moving into, or it seemed that we were moving into the space age, and we needed essentially we needed a semi truck?
We just needed a semi truck, and there'll be tons of payloads, literally and figuratively. Whatever you want to put on there. He was talking about propellant, because he knew we would be doing on-orbit construction, which Musk is now talking about. So they knew they needed to move lots and lots of stuff, even water. A common resource on Earth is precious in space. So probably rocket propellant. He even had a concept for the non-nuclear ICBM. He was trying to get some funding from the DOD, where just a chunk of iron or concrete, 1,000 tons at orbital velocity, has as much energy as a nuclear weapon. So the non-nuclear ICBM would just be a big chunk of concrete that would be lobbed at your enemy. And just the kinetic energy of 1,000 tons at 5 miles per second is, well, we know what asteroids do when they hit the Earth. They leave a big hole. So that was another concept, albeit it's, to blow things up. But Bob was a Navy captain, so he didn't think militarily. Yeah. But he preferred it to do peacefully, of course.
Sure. Yeah, that's just, I can't help but giggle like a little kid when I hear 1,000 tons of concrete be traveling at orbital velocity.
Yeah.
How do you? There's another thing that's just. Oh, hi, kitty. You
that's
barely
my
see
kitty.
it. Yeah.
That's our kitty, our one and only pet.
Oh, I miss my cats. I want to get like a link, but that's beyond the scope of this conversation. I could go down into buying like a white leopard or something. Nick, were you butting in? Do you got something?
Oh, not really. I've I guess this kind of ties into one of the questions I had, which is there still a place in this world for big dumb boosters? The simple pressure-fed large rockets, possibly sea-launched. Because that was the last question I was going to ask last time. Because you look at all the rockets that are used now, or I guess the big rockets at least, by SpaceX, United Launch Alliance, and all the other people. They're all turbopump fed. Do you think there's still a window of opportunity for big dumb boosters in today's world?
Well, I believe there are. Whether someone will fund it, I don't know. Of course, Musk has got all his eggs in one basket, and that's with the Raptor engines. A phenomenal achievement, absolutely phenomenal achievement. And I think there could be a parallel program where you have the Raptor type engine, and then you have the big dumb booster. But I don't know if there's enough capital investment to do parallel programs. I don't think there will be. It's going to take an entrepreneur with the funding to make that decision. Mm-hmm. Just have to see what happens.
Yeah.
That's
so.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
You got it.
Oh, yeah. So if I was a billionaire and I came to you and I said, design a rocket for me that I could build a business around. You think there's some situations, there's some scenarios where you might go the big dumb booster route and use Sea Dragon type technology?
I would, but I doubt there's someone with that kind of money that's willing to carte blanche turn over a checkbook. I've worked with millionaire or billionaires, including Andy Beal with Beal Aerospace. And he sat me down in his office once. He said, "You're king for a day. What would you do differently?" And I walked out of the office not kind of a little bit lower than when I walked in. He didn't like what I had to say. So, no, I wasn't king for a day. Only if he agreed with it.
Yeah.
He was basing everything on hydrogen peroxide. I said, well, you ought to consider liquid oxygen. in case the peroxide doesn't work out for whatever reason. I wasn't, pushy or anything. I just said you need to consider alternatives. Very, pleasant and non-invasively. And he wasn't happy with that answer. It's like there was a right answer, not a wrong or
It's like,
it did bode well. So I just kept my opinion of myself after that. And
sure.
Then he wanted me to move out there to Texas to move my family and everything. And I said, no, this project is not going to last. And he made it to a 1 million pound thrust static test. He did that much, but that's a long shot from launching something to orbit.
Yeah.
So that was the Andy Beal of Beal Aerospace experience. And then there was Gary Hudson with GCH, the Percheron, back in the early 80s. I told them their rocket would blow up if they didn't put a critical seal in the LOX duct, and they didn't, and the rocket blew up for the reason I told them. And these things are so frustrating to me, that these guys got money, they hire you to do a job, and then when you offer suggestions and then they don't take it, and then the rockets fail. What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
So would a billionaire come to me? I really seriously doubt it. He's going to have a bias already coming in.
Yeah.
And that's my personal experience. Other people may have different experiences, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's my experience.
Yeah. It's yeah, king for a day as long as I like it. Or like Bill Hicks, the comedian, used to say, "You're free to do as I tell you." It's you're free to do as I say. Okay, all right, So yeah,
that's basically it.
Yeah,
that's basically it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that kind of got me to Nick to go from what you were saying. It's because again, it's a great book. I think the guy's name it's Davenport. I think it's Christian Davenport. I could be wrong. The author of Space Barons. I highly, highly, highly recommend that book. It's a great audiobook. But he explains really how just how different Musk and Bezos are in their approach to public appearance, to general chasing a goal, how they do it. One is sort of throw everything at the wall and you put a cinder block on the gas pedal. That's Musk. Bezos is more of like you put it all out. It's more of like a military operation. You just creep forward an inch at a time with like less than 1% chance of failure. So he's this very slow, meticulous, just like a grinding wheel, whereas Musk is more like a bottle rocket strapped to like a skateboard, just like fuck it, let's go. Do you think that Bezos could or would maybe consider his own thing, since a lot of it there is a well, not tangible, but there seems to be a tangible value to that self-landing rocket ship, that that outward Elon Musk eccentric, he's on Twitter, he's crazy, he's on Joe Rogan smoking pot. Do you think Bezos could steal his thunder or create his own thunder, literally and figuratively, by going, okay, let's not do the self-landing rocket, let's do the Sea Dragon, let's do the Sea Monster, make it 100 million pounds, 200 million pounds? Do you think, or even just the original, the 80 million pounds, because that's not enough? Do you think Bezos could do that? And I know this is like a 9-part question, and would Bezos do that? Is there a point at which the Sea Dragon being disposable is, like we talked about earlier, Artemis already being outdated because it's disposable and Musk has made it a fossil? Is there like a point on the graph where Sea Dragon is still a better option than reusable, like at a certain amount? I know that was like a 50-part question, so pick any piece of that you want.
I just focused on the beginning about Bezos. What's he up to? He's got to be getting money from somewhere because he's not doing anything openly. I see things on TV that he's storing metamaterials, UFO debris in warehouses. I don't know. He's getting his money from somewhere, and it's covertly.
Amazon.
Well, that, but I mean, he's spending a lot of it on rockets. It's got to be delivering something, and I don't see it delivering much. It's really, you see what I see. I don't have any inside info. So I don't know what he's up to. I'm personally bored with his stuff. I don't even care for hydrogen as a first stage fuel anyway. So he lost me early on.
Yeah.
Lost my interest. But and he was doing this space tourism. That's another dead end. There's not a lot of money in it. I think these guys are realizing it. That's why Musk is now launching satellites, not people.
Yeah.
He said so himself. There's no secret there.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Bezos is up to. He fished some F1s out of the ocean. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I said that years ago. Someone should fish them all out because there's a lot of gold in them from the brazing alloy.
Yeah.
I calculated there's like $80 million in gold in all the F1s at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean.
Jesus.
But it may cost $80 million to get them all off the bottom. I don't know. But back to Bezos, I don't know, and I don't personally care.
Sure.
Musk has got my full attention, and I applaud him. He's doing great. And I think he needs to address the artificial gravity problem, because I think it's a bigger problem than they think.
Sure. Yeah, it's
and then the radiations and the other part of the equation. Once they get to Mars, they got lava tubes. Back to you, way back early on in the conversation, tunnels. There are lava tubes on Mars. That's where they'll go and protect themselves from radiation, and maybe pressurize these tubes if they can pressurize them or seal them.
Mm-hmm.
They would be self-made, already made habitats.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff to do before we get on Mars. A lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's I might actually assign homework to you guys to read Space Barons, because they go into the whole I guess the whole mystery of Bezos and just how secretive he is. It's not an accident. It's like they go far out of their way to make Blue Origin very shrouded and distant and remote in everything they do, from the materials they buy to their tests. Everything is, they go very far out of their way. It's not just that they're not open like Tesla or SpaceX is. They actually go in the opposite direction. They spend money to keep it just quiet.
I don't care for people who are secretive. If they have something to hide, then there's something wrong.
Yeah.
There's something nefarious going on, and I don't care even to know. They just stay away from them.
Yeah. The smartest move is to not play. Just stay away from them. Yeah.
That's what they want. So be it. It's his money. Let him do what he wants with it.
Yeah.
But my attention's on Musk, and I applaud him and his successes, and I wish him the best. I just would like to see more addressed to human space flight, since that's what they're all doing.
Yeah.
What they're talking about.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to see astronauts get to Mars and they're a miserable mess and they can't do the mission and they can't come back. I mean, they got eight months to come back. We talked about this in an earlier podcast about having an escape pod where someone freaks out on the way there. They at least know they can get back to Earth if something happens. I think psychologically that would be a good thing. I could be totally off in left field too. There's some people just willing to do some pretty bizarre things. But 8 months, once that engine cuts off to a trans-Mars injection, there's no turning back. You're with the program. And you got to know that's got to be going through their minds.
Yeah.
And I don't sign me up, and I know they're not. I'm too old anyway. But I don't know. The thermonuclear, absolutely, that makes sense. But there's environmental issues. I don't know if it can be done just because of resistance from certain groups of people, and for good reason. Nuclear energy is dangerous. So I just say let's go with what's working, and let's see what Musk delivers. And he's been doing really good. So I wish him the best.
Yeah, I guess we don't have to wait very long, because they're going to launch 4 astronauts on Halloween.
What?
SpaceX. SpaceX is going to launch four more astronauts on Halloween. Three Americans, 1 Japanese.
Oh shit! What time?
Yeah.
What time? Do you know?
I don't know what time, but I just heard it's on. I guess it's on Halloween. The 31st. So
you should look up the time. We should do an episode.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Is it to the space station or just an orbital mission?
To the space station. Yeah, pretty sure.
Oh shit! I'm gonna look it up right now.
Those missions don't excite me at all. That's just another up and down, around and around, going around the block again, same scenery. I am totally uninterested in that. I want to see something new.
All right.
Like, going up there and launching an artificial gravity machine or something. Something new, not the same old scenery. I get bored easy. I want something new. It's like seeing the same movie again. I want reruns of Star Trek too, but you know the ending every time. So let's see a new movie and some popcorn while we're at it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to pop your bubble, but it doesn't excite me.
No, I love it. I love the honesty. I love the fucking honesty, Ken. I love that more than the idea of the episode. I love just the I don't care. I love that more than anything.
I think it's really cool, just the fact that a private company is doing it.
Sure,
you know? I mean, even though they're getting some government funding, I think private space exploration is the future. So I like it.
Sure.
Oh, that part is that is true, and I hope it's a means to an end. I hope there's another thing to unfold after that. There is a on orbit, SpaceX rocket with Raptor engines in orbit. That'll be the new space station. I hope that's what we can be excited about.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years from now, maybe a year from now. I want to see that baby do that 60,000 foot hop. That's what I'm waiting for. That's going to excite me.
Yeah.
When is
Anybody here when that's going?
I was about to say, yeah.
Are they going to want?
Yeah, I don't think they know exactly, but I guess it's going to be sometime soon. I actually sent Tom an animation of that earlier, of how it's gonna unfold, and it looks really impressive. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. That's
hopefully in the next few weeks.
That'll excite me many orders of magnitude more than launching some guys into orbit.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from, Ken. It's the trick that we've been doing for 30 years. It's the same magic trick, but I see Nick's point. If it was just NASA doing this or the ESA or whoever doing it, I think I would be a little bored. But because it's SpaceX, I know that this is just a stepping stone. This is just, just like launching a car into orbit and then launching 2 guys, now launching 4. So even though the space station is not sexy that we've done it, it's exciting because I know that this is a huge step for SpaceX and that they're not going to slow down.
But SpaceX already launched people to the space station,
sure.
So this is nothing new, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like us Americans we want to go see a new movie. What's playing at the theater? We already saw that.
Yeah.
It's just a variation. Chucky does this or that. It's which ways can he chop somebody up?
Yeah.
I want to see something new, and watching that those Raptor engines do something. I mean that's exciting stuff, and I'm looking forward to that 60,000 foot or whatever the next mission is. I'm really looking forward to, and then going to orbit. Then now we're talking.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Those are things that excite me.
Yeah.
I know I get bored easy. I'm sorry.
No, that's what drives this shit forward. Being content, that doesn't drive anything forward. It's the restlessness. But again, to be devil's advocate, is sure they're doing it again, but they're increasing the number of people by 100%, 2 to 4. I just, again, if it was anyone else, I'd say like I don't care. But if it's SpaceX, I look at it as like I know that this is all on the same spectrum of us, from the first one landing upright on a barge to us landing on Mars. I know that this is one of the steps. This is one of the rungs on the ladder. So that's what I'm excited for. Just like the 60,000 foot test will be another rung. That's what I'm excited for. Is I know it's, you get what I'm saying? Like I know it's, if they plateau, I'll be aboard. But 4 people, that is double the last. Maybe the next one will be more. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
And I agree that there is a degree of newness to it, but it's not a giant leap. It is an incremental step. And Musk is more the kind of guy that does leaps, not baby steps.
Yeah.
But when human life is involved, then I guess is where you do the baby steps.
Yeah.
So that's great, and that's good news. And I hope we see both that launch and also a 60,000-foot hop with the Raptor powered vehicle. That's the two things to look forward to.
We should find out what time that launch is and do it during the launch. Do an episode during the launch, and we can pull it up and watch it.
Yeah.
Would you want to do that, Nick? I can if it doesn't excite you. I don't want to force you to be there, but I think you should be there.
No, I'll watch it. I love watching rockets. They never get old.
Hell yeah.
That's always exciting, especially seeing private industry launching rockets. And I actually like watching them land more than watching them
Yeah.
launch. I like it equal. I like watching them land and launch. That's both extremely, very fascinating.
Yeah. We'll have to... Nick, this is our long-term project. We have 29 days. Let's figure out how we're gonna. We figured this out. We figured out getting us three on here. I feel like we figured it out. This is our Apollo 13.
Yeah.
Our next baby step, our next incremental baby step is just like Musk. Our next step is let's see if we can do it while also pulling up the launch to where we can all watch it. I'll pull it up on the screen. Nick, we have 29 days. And your cat will be there too.
Want food, bugging me. I think I got to go and feed her.
All right. Well,
I got. If anyone knows how to fix my lens, let me know. I got to fix it.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I'm seeing.
I should have known it was plastic. I didn't think. It just looked like glass sitting there, and I put acetone on it to get rid of the adhesive. And oh man, they probably use plastic.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Ken, what do you have a laptop or do you have a desktop?
It's a laptop.
All right. We should.
HP.
All right.
I don't know if you can replace those or not.
It's probably cheap. Yeah, I don't know. Nick, we'll see what we can do. But Nick, yeah, I'll text you after this. So let's start putting together how we're gonna build the 31st episode, the Halloween episode.
Yeah. I would like that.
Fuck yeah, we will do it not because it is easy, but because it is hard.
Yeah. The only risk is that like maybe the weather wouldn't cooperate, so we might be sitting there for like 3 hours, waiting for them to launch.
Like a bunch of morons. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
But you know what? That's part of the risk.
Yeah.
That's part of the risk. We'll show
You need to find a different launch site where there isn't such bad weather.
Yeah.
Maybe Texas. I don't know if it's any better there. It's still near the Gulf, but this thing with the weather just always has been irritating.
Yeah.
You got to be near water.
Yeah, it's a weird. It's like we're moving into like a spacefaring species. But watch out for the clouds.
You see that now going back to Sea Dragon, the beauty of it, amongst many things, is you can go launch anywhere there's water, and of course the equator is where you want to launch and take advantage of those rotation.
Yeah.
Well, you can also find a place where weather is not really bad, like the convergence zone at the equator. There's usually the doldrums. There's usually not much going on there. So there's a lot of reasons to launch from the ocean at the equator.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ken, I'll let you go. I'll let you go feed your cat, and so I guess we'll wrap this one up. Nick, I'll text you after this. Well, I got to go to work right now, so I'll have time. I'll text you, but let's start piecing this bitch together. We're gonna be building our own Saturn V. See if we can do it.
Well, right now I'm working with a Texas high school to build a LOX kerosene rocket. 1.5 thousand pounds of thrust. And I've got to get on a podcast with them after I'm done here.
Busy man. Ken Mason. Busy man.
Going to be launching a rocket at the LOX kerosene, and it's a high school group.
Yeah.
So that is exciting.
Oh, Nick, did I tell you about that?
We'll launch it at the FAR site, Friends for Amateur Rocketry, down in the Mojave Desert.
Hell yeah.
So I'm sure people can be invited to watch that. It's just a small rocket. It'll go about maybe, I think, 50,000 feet, but it'll be a group of high schoolers.
Hell yeah.
That's cool because they're the future rocket people.
Nick, did I tell you about that?
Yeah, Ken told me a little bit about that just before this. That's incredible. I wish I could have done stuff like that in high school.
Start up now, Nick. We've talked about this. Stop wishing for the past. The past isn't changing, so we're gonna start changing now. All right? Don't make me scold you in front of Ken. But this kid messaged me on Reddit, and he was like, "Hey, on the Reddit account I don't use a lot, Tommy's podcast," and which is stupid. I should be using that all the time. But he he was like, hey, like, I loved your Ken Mason episode. I was like, oh, cool. He's like, yeah, we're shooting our own rocket. I was like, that's awesome, man. And he goes, how do I get in touch with them? Because I think, like, the guy that's, like, supporting their thing, like, sort of like their, I guess, I don't know, leader, he was like, he worked with Ken back in the 80s. And I was like, what the hell? So, yeah, I put them in touch. And I guess Ken is now a wanted man. Don't forget us when you make it, Ken.
Who are you talking to?
It was when I sent you a couple weeks ago, and I said that someone wanted to contact you.
Oh, okay. That was George.
Yeah. It's the group of high school kids. Yeah,
George Morgan. That goes back to the 80s. When I lived in Southern California, it's when I got my Class 1 rocket pyro license with Nels Anderson. Those are the folks. And I hadn't seen them since. That was, like I say, late 80s. So, these are some high school folks. That was when I was building rockets in high school. We had a machine shop. These gentlemen don't have the advantage of a machine shop at their school, but they are going to get some help from some local places in, I think they're near Houston, or is it Dallas? I get Houston and Dallas mixed up for some reason.
Ken Mason is now he's now a superstar.
These are future rocket engineers, so I can anything I can do to help them, and I'll donate it. It's wonderful to see young folks doing some real rocket work.
Well, hell yeah! I mean, look what happened, man. You did this podcast. Yeah, Ken did this podcast, and then those kids reached out to me. So it's snowballing. Ken is now a wanted man. He's a superstar. He doesn't have enough time for us little guys. Don't forget us when you make it, Ken. Don't forget me and Nick.
Yeah.
I never forget people that help me. If I forget, it's just my decomposing brain. Getting old is not the most glamorous thing. But I've been drinking deuterium depleted water lately, and that seems to be helping a little bit my vision. And I lost 13 pounds in 3 weeks. So
oh shit!
I might be onto something. Deuterium depleted water. That's the cause of aging. So. Think about that.
Well, Ken Mason might have solved aging on Tommy's podcast.
Not me. Actually, Bob Truex told me about it back 40 years ago. He said, I heard that deuterium oxide may be what causes aging. And I go, oh, really? I go, cool. And then that was it. Never heard it from him since. But it appears to be a fact, and we could do a podcast on that by itself.
Let's do that. So let's do a deuterium oxide episode. Or deuterium
Do your
depleted.
own research.
Okay.
Everyone do your own research. Deuterium depleted water, DDW.
Okay.
It's fascinating. People who get depleted water in nature from high glaciers, they live to be 160. I mean, it's empirical data is there. People in the Antarctic, depleted water is natural, and in the Antarctic ice, they live 10 years older than the average person that doesn't work at the Antarctic. So the facts are in. It's just a matter of doing some empirical data up here in the northern latitudes.
Well, hell yeah, we've got a lot on our plates. Ken Mason, Nick Smith.
Kind of blurry, but it's right there.
Yeah.
All right, man, that's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it immensely, and I hope we can do some more stuff in the future.
Thank you very much, Ken. And put it on your calendars, boys, because we're aiming for a Halloween episode. All right?
Yeah.
Get 29 days to prepare.
Yeah.
By the end of this month. What is the JFK by the end of this decade? By the end of this month, we will do an episode on Halloween, not because it is easy, but because it is hard.
Well, we have a blue moon this month, 2 full moons in the same month. So one today, or one was actually in the first yesterday, and another one on Halloween, the 31st. So maybe they'll launch on the next new moon, or full moon.
Ooh. The stars are aligning. The stars are aligning. Nick Smith, Ken Mason. Thank you for your time, everybody.
Bye-bye, gentlemen.
Stay safe.
You. God bless you.
God bless. Stay safe. Nick, I'll text you right now. All right, buddy?
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Tom. It was a privilege.
All right, buddy. Take it easy.
All right.
Peace.
Yep.